it down here just a moment. Okay, should be good.
Good afternoon. Today is April 27th, 2022. This is a public information meeting, and I'm Councillor Peter Allen for District 9. Present with us today is Mark Fredericks from the Planning Department and the applicant, Ken Rent. So Mark, when you're ready, you can start the first presentation.
Great, thanks guys. I'm going to share a slide here. So we've got a public information meeting here. This is a fairly early stage in the process. This particular meeting is in regards to a planning application that we've received from Ken Rent, who's looking to establish a variety of tourist accommodations at 1459 Forest Hill Road. The purpose of this meeting is to inform the public that there's an application happening in the area, to explain some of the planning policies that we consider, and to receive hopefully some early feedback from the community. The proposal that we've received is for a large property. It's about a 30-acre property, and the applicant's looking to establish a variety of tourist accommodations or short-term rentals on this property, potentially upwards of 30 small cabins that may look similar to those shown here, this sort of pitched roof, similar kind of barn-style architecture. This is a map of the property. And, you know, it's a fairly large property, cleared mostly, buffered fairly well on the north and east by forest. And then to the west, you know, there's a variety of rural residential uses, some agriculture, some forested areas. And the subject property wraps around an existing residential dwelling here. And so we'll see some buffering that considers that in just a moment. But this is the subject property as it is now, and it's certainly large enough to accommodate the sort of proposal. The zoning on the property is A2 or rural mixed use, and this zone does allow for residential development, and it can be also considered through a development agreement process like this to accommodate tourist style lodging. This is the sort of preliminary or proposed site plan, and it includes some of this buffering around this this separate house here, and some buffering along the western edge as well. And this is important for the criteria that we'll look at next, but this gives some consideration to buffering and screening, separating the proposed use from some of the rural residential uses along Forest Hill Road. The proposed kind of layout is, you know, could be something like this with a sort of central common area with some communal amenities, amenity space in the middle, and potentially some infrastructure here that feeds power and heat to a variety of units. Now, the planning strategy, the municipal planning strategy recognizes the ability to do tourist accommodations, you know, like this in this particular policy here. It allows council to consider tourist accommodations as well as restaurants or event venues or other special attractions. So in evaluating these development agreements, we want to see that, yes, the proposal is oriented to visitors or the traveling public, you know, be that in lodging or restaurants or otherwise. We also want to see that the subject property has an appropriate lot area. And again, we're talking about a 30-acre lot here, potentially up to 30 units, being about one acre per unit. And we want to ensure that you know, the lot area is at least sized appropriately to accommodate the buildings themselves, but also parking areas, amenity space, and required infrastructure. The other criteria that's specific to this type of development agreement is that the site facilities are adequately buffered or separated from surrounding residential dwellings. And so when we saw that air photograph map, we did, you know, there are some residential properties in the area, and certainly we want to minimize the potential impact that this tourist accommodation may have on those. And so, you know, you may have people celebrating late into the evening or so on. And so we want to have some visual screening, and this, you know, this addresses visual impacts and noise and light as well. So those are the sorts of things that we want to try to minimize the impact by providing adequate buffering and screening or separation. So those are the general, or those are the specific criteria, but then there's a list of general criteria as well that we consider for most planning applications. And these look at the intent of the planning strategy. These look at financial impact on the municipality. We look at feasibility of services, and in this location in the rural area, there isn't central water or sewer. And so we'd be looking at on-site servicing here, septic systems and wells for water. We look at the potential for land use conflict, and again, that's where this buffering and screening stuff comes in. We look at the impact on any designated well fields in the community or area. We also look at the site suitability. Is it super steep, or does it have water courses running through it? And in this case, it's a fairly clear sloping site, but not overly steep. And so, these are the sorts of things that we consider. There are a number of criteria in the general criteria section that we consider, but these are the sorts of issues that we try to address. And we address those in a staff report that goes to the Planning Advisory Committee. So all those sorts of criteria we give consideration to, and provide some analysis within a staff report. So that staff review process is sort of what comes next, but this public information meeting is held to sort of gather some input from the public early on in the process, because there may be aspects that we could tweak, maybe some buffering or screening that we could add or change. And that's why we hold this meeting, is to hopefully hear from folks in that regard. So the Planning Advisory Committee makes a recommendation to the Municipal Council, and then they provide a first reading, they hold a public hearing, and then they host another second reading or final consideration. The public hearing itself is notified. The properties within 500 feet of this are notified of that public hearing, and there are also advertisements in the newspaper letting people know that there is this opportunity to participate in the municipal process. And then following that, there'd be an appeal period, and then the development agreement gets registered and permits can be issued following that. So that's kind of the process. Again, we're in the fairly early stages right now, hoping to just hear from the community because we've got a proposal here and we want to gather some input from the community. So if you've got questions or comments regarding the proposal, you can reach the municipality by phone or email. My contact is on the screen here. You can call me at 902-690-6276, or you can reach me by email at mfredericks@countyofkings.ca. And with that, that's the end of my slides. I'll pass it back to Councillor Allen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I would just add at this time, if anyone from the public has a question or comment, that when they contact you, that they provide their name and civic address. And so with that said, Ken, if you have anything you'd like to add to this presentation?
I appreciate the time. First off, Mark and Peter, thanks for having me. I think it was a great presentation, very much captured what I was hoping to do. Just to say, first and foremost, this proposal is, as Mark mentioned, very preliminary, and I'm open to whatever feedback the county has, individuals have. I'm very flexible in terms of what this turns out to be. Mark had mentioned it's a big property, it's wide open, and sometimes with large capacity to do lots of different things, it makes it difficult to know where this should go. And by all means, I'd be very keen to hear from stakeholders and members of the community and whatnot. I'm hoping that I've done my due diligence in looking at the services that I need, and I've contacted some professionals, and my goal here is really to provide some accommodations to people visiting the area who are maybe looking at visiting the area for the wine tourism. It seems to be that there is maybe a paucity of accommodations now, and it seems to me that maybe there could be some increased capacity there. So that's what I'm hoping to provide. Overall, I don't want this development to be sort of changing the landscape. I hope these structures fit nicely within the landscape, and I hope that some of the vegetation, and I've already contracted a landscape architect who helped me draw up this plan to sort of consider those things, because I don't really want to change that view, not only for people that are coming there, but for the people who live there and the people who are maybe passersby. You know, I want these to be properties that really blend in with that community, and with consideration to the surrounding residents. So
great, thank you.
So I'll just mention one other thing, that this presentation is being posted to the municipal website, And members of the public will have at least 30 days to view the posted presentation and make or provide questions and comments to the planner, which will be included as part of the report to the Planning Advisory Committee. So with that said, that concludes the meeting.
Thank you for your time.
Right,
Oh, you're
thanks, guys.
welcome. Yeah, no problem.